Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The sun was setting over the company's glass tower, Williams Global Industries. Inside, everyone was whispering the same thing. CEO Jonathan Williams is going to marry a woman with a limp, just a nurse. No one understood. He, the most powerful man in the country, rich, handsome, admired by all, why her? Her name was Elena Moore, a woman with a gentle smile but marked by suffering. It was said that she had survived a serious accident, that she walked with difficulty, and that she had lived alone for years. During the ceremony, Jonathan seemed calm and moved, as if he had just found a lost treasure. But what no one knew was that this union hid a secret deeper than love. Because in the CEO's mansion also lived Liam, his only son, a young man of 20, orphaned of his mother since birth. The day he met Elena's gaze, something inside him broke. Her eyes, her voice, the way she looked at him. Everything seemed strangely familiar to him. And when Elena discovered a silver pendant in Liam's room, the one she had lost 20 years earlier, the day her baby was taken from her at birth, she understood everything. Liam, he was her son. And the man she had just married, was the father of her child. 20 years earlier. Rain was beating against the windows of a small rural hospital, somewhere in the state of Michigan. A young woman, Elena Moore, barely 22 years old, was holding a newborn baby in her arms. Her eyes shone with tears, a mixture of joy and fear. She was not married. And the man she loved, Jonathan Williams, had just been appointed deputy director of a large family business. Their love had been passionate, but secret. Jonathan came from a wealthy, influential background, a world where a young, penniless nurse had no place. When he learned that she was pregnant, he panicked. "This isn't the right time, Elena. My family wouldn't understand. Let me sort things out, I promise I'll be back." But he never came back. Elena waited alone until the day of the delivery. And when her son was born, she held him tightly to her, promising to protect him from everything. She gave him a name, Liam. But just a few hours later, while she slept exhausted, men in suits entered the room. When she woke up, the crib was empty. She was told that her baby had died. No body was shown to him. Just a certificate, and silence. Elena cried out, begged, and searched for the truth for years. Until a car accident, a few years later, left her with a limp and shattered her life forever. She eventually left the city, fleeing the memory of a lost love and a missing son. But deep down, she never stopped hoping. One day, I will find him. I will know. A mother always knows. 20 years had passed. Jonathan Williams had become a respected tycoon, CEO of Williams Global Industries. Married, divorced, then widowed, he lived alone with his son Liam, a brilliant but rebellious young man who could not stand the coldness of the family home. Jonathan had never forgotten Elena. Every time he passed a nurse, every time he saw a young woman with a gentle smile, his heart sank. But he had convinced himself that the past should remain buried. One morning, after a conference in Chicago, Jonathan felt unwell. A strange fatigue, a sudden dizziness. His driver rushed him to the nearest hospital. And that's when fate caught up with him. In the clean room, a nurse entered to insert an IV drip. She was limping slightly. Her gaze, both kind and sad, struck him full force. "Mr. Williams? Are you feeling better?" "Yes, thank you, but, have we already been introduced?" Elena looked up, frozen. His heart skipped a beat. That voice, that look, impossible to forget. "I don't think so, sir," she replied calmly. She tried to remain professional, but her hands were trembling. Jonathan stared at her for a long time, unable to tear his eyes away from her face. Something about her reminded him of an old, painful memory that he thought had been erased. He remained under observation for several weeks. And every day, Elena would come to check on her condition, talk a little, smile shyly. A strange bond was being reborn, slowly, naturally. Jonathan eventually offered her dinner to thank her. She refused at first, then accepted. That evening, in a small restaurant in town, time seemed to stand still. They talked about the past, their wounds, their loneliness. He told her that he had lost his wife 15 years ago and that he had raised his son alone. She confided in him that she had never had a child, but that she sometimes felt a void in her heart, without understanding why. And without realizing it, they fell in love again. A more mature, deeper love, born from the ashes of the past. A few months later, Jonathan made the front page of the newspapers. CEO Jonathan Williams announces his marriage to a lame nurse. The business world laughed, his entourage criticized him, but he didn't care. For the first time in 20 years, he felt alive. The Williams house shone brightly. The main hall had been decorated to welcome the CEO's new wife. But behind the smiles, a simmering tension hung in the air. Liam Williams, Jonathan's only son, stared at the wedding photo on the mantelpiece. He couldn't believe it. His father, the toughest businessman he knew, had just married a nurse. And not just any woman, a lame woman, older, simple, without prestige. "That's ridiculous," he murmured. "He's lost his mind." His friend Mark, who was present that evening, shrugged. "Maybe he really loves her, man. Your father has the right to be happy, doesn't he?" "Happy? With her? Impossible." But everything changed the day Elena crossed the threshold of the house. She entered with a shy smile, leaning on her cane. Her beige dress clung to her fragile movements, and her gaze swept around the room with emotion. She stopped dead in her tracks when she saw Liam. A slender young man, with the same hazel eyes as Jonathan once had. A shiver ran through her. She felt her heart tighten, without knowing why. "You must be Liam," she said in a trembling voice. "Yes," he replied coldly. "Welcome, I suppose." He greeted her briefly, then looked away. But this encounter deeply disturbed him. During dinner, he kept silently observing her. Every gesture, every smile, every intonation. He felt something strange, an inexplicable connection. Later, alone in his room, he looked at a small silver pendant that he always wore around his neck. An old nurse from the hospital where he was born had given it to him, saying that it belonged to his biological mother, a woman who died at his birth. But that night, for the first time, he felt a doubt. He thought back to Elena's eyes. To her trembling voice. And the way she looked at that pendant, as if she had seen it before. Meanwhile, Elena was crying alone in the guest room. She recognized the jewel as soon as she saw it around Liam's neck. It was his. The one she had lost the day her baby was stolen. "No, it's impossible," she murmured, sobbing. "It can't be him, not my son." But deep down, a certainty was emerging. And this truth threatened to destroy everything. Night had fallen on the Williams mansion. The wind blew gently through the curtains, and in the silence of the house, Elena could not find sleep. Her gaze remained fixed on the pendant she had seen again around Liam's neck. Each beat of her heart whispered the same thing to her. "It's him. It's my son. But how can we be certain? And above all, how can one live with such a truth?" The next morning, Jonathan left for a business meeting. Elena took advantage of his absence to search the office. It wasn't in her nature, but she had to know. She had to know the truth, even if it destroyed everything. She opened the drawers, the binders, the files, until she came across an old wooden box hidden behind some tax documents. Inside, there were yellowed photos, a hospital bracelet, and a crumpled letter. Her hands trembled when she read the name inscribed on the bracelet. Baby Williams, born April 12, 2005, mother, Elena Moore. She felt her legs give way beneath her. Burning tears welled up in her eyes. Everything became clear. Liam was his son. And Jonathan was the man who had made that baby disappear. That evening, when Jonathan returned home, he found Elena sitting in the living room, the box on her lap. Her eyes were red, her face frozen in pain. "Elena, what are you doing with that?" he asked, worried. "You knew it, Jonathan," she murmured in a trembling voice. "What is it?" "That Liam is my son." Jonathan stepped back in shock. "What? No, that's not possible." She opened the box and showed him the proof, the bracelet, the letter, and an old photo of herself in the maternity ward. "You knew I was told my baby was dead." "Elena. I wasn't aware of everything. My family. Your family stole my child," she cried out in tears. "They told me he had been placed with another family, that it was for the best. I was young, stupid. I thought I was making the right choice." Silence fell. Words no longer had any meaning. Jonathan knelt before her, weeping. "If I had known, I would never have left you. You left me alone. You stole my life. And now, you're my husband. And my son lives under your roof without knowing who I am." At that moment, a trembling voice echoed in the corridor. "Liam." He had heard everything. Her eyes were wide open, her face pale. "Mom," he whispered. Elena froze. Jonathan was speechless. You're my mother." She stood up slowly, tears in her eyes, and took him in her arms. "Yes, my son. I never stopped searching for you." Liam burst into tears, clutching the woman he had always dreamed of knowing. Jonathan, on his knees, watched the scene, devastated but grateful. Their family had just rebuilt itself, on the ruins of lies. A few months later, Elena, Jonathan and Liam appeared together on the front page of the newspapers. No longer like a CEO and his lame wife, but like a family reunited by fate, after 20 years of separation. And this time, nothing and no one could separate them.